Juanito was a sad boy who lived in a home where there was violence, abuse and many bad things. He always wondered why there was so much evil in the world and he wanted to find answers. One day, he decided to take a trip to heaven in search of them. With a heart full of hope, he closed his eyes and prayed with all his might to be taken to heaven. Suddenly, he felt as if he were floating in the air and, when he opened his eyes, he found himself in a magical and peaceful place. Juanito was received by a guide who explained everything he saw and experienced. The skies were deep blue, the air was pure and fresh, and the light was warm and golden. Juanito walked through marble streets, gardens of colorful flowers and fountains of crystal clear water. Everything seemed to be made of love and peace, and Juanito felt happy. The guide introduced him to the inhabitants of heaven, who were humble and kind. Juanito felt welcome and safe with them. He also met the angels and celestial beings who filled the place with their radiant presence. Juanito was increasingly worried about what was happening at home. He had tried to talk to his parents about what he had been experiencing, but they always told him not to worry, that everything was fine and that he was just a child. But for Juanito, violence and abuse were real things and he couldn't just ignore them. One afternoon, while he was playing in the park near his house, he met an older man who was sitting on a bench. The man seemed kind and wise, and Juanito decided to go over and talk to him. During their conversation, Juanito shared his concerns with the man, who listened to him with attention and understanding. The man spoke to him about the importance of empathy and compassion towards others, and how these virtues could help reduce violence and abuse in the world. The man also talked to him about how adults often have difficulty dealing with their own emotions, and how this can lead them to behave inappropriately. Juanito began to understand that adults do not always know how to manage their emotions and that, in some cases, they can act in the wrong way. The man told Juanito that he was not alone in his concerns and that many other children and adults felt that way too. He reminded her that compassion and love can always help make things better, even in the darkest of times. At the end of their conversation, the man gave him a small book on empathy and told him that he could always turn to it when he felt confused or sad. Juanito said goodbye to the man with a smile on his face and with a feeling of hope in his heart. That afternoon, Juanito came home with a new perspective and a determination to do everything he could to create a more loving and compassionate world. He decided that he would do his part to create positive change, starting with being kind and understanding to others. Juanito's guide explained to him that each person is responsible for their own life and decisions, and that the world and people do not change overnight. He told him that the important thing was that Juanito understood that he himself could be an agent of change, and that he could influence the lives of others to make them better. Juanito reflected on this and realized that he had to be a good human being for his own well-being and to help others. Juanito returned to Earth with new knowledge and a deeper understanding of human nature. With his heart full of love and peace, he applied what he had learned in his home. He tried to be a good friend, a good son and a good student. As time passed, he realized that his attitude and positive actions began to influence the people around him. He began to see small changes in his home and in his community. Juanito realized that life was not fair and that there were many people who suffered and went through difficulties in the earthly world. However, he learned that each of us has the ability to make a positive difference in the lives of others, even if it is just a small action. At the end of his stay in heaven, Juanito felt stronger and determined to be a good human being in the earthly world. He knew that he couldn't change the entire world, but he could do his part to make it a better place.